Welcome, everybody. My name is not Barry Cranford. I'm Anthony. I'm just using his account. So we are the Aspiring Speakers group with a mission of introducing new speakers to the world of public speaking and helping them leverage their careers. It's a small, cozy group. We have about 400 members. Many thanks to RecWorks, which is keeping us alive. And I'm here to basically host this Aspiring Speaker Lighting Talks event. If it's your first time, we are going to have speakers doing short talks, 7 to 10 minutes. Between talks, you are free to ask any questions. Please do. We want you to ask questions. And we do this kind of event once per month-ish. So if you want to register and give a talk of yourself, I'll send you a nice form to fill. More than that, we have a Slack channel with mentorships. And so this is my cat, Sean. He's Irish, and you can see his tail. We have like mentorship and Slack group, so you can join us. And among other things, we work with big conferences like DevOps. So next, by the 14th of April, we are going to have a rehearsal, and 5 of our speakers will be attending DevOps UK in May. So quite a nice thing that we managed to arrange there. So without further ado, I'm going to give the mic to our first speaker, which is Swathi. Take from here, Swathi.
Yep. Thank you, Anthony. Hello, everyone. So excited to be here today. So today I'm going to talk to you all about mindset. Oh, I need to introduce myself. My name is Swathi. I'm a software development engineer in test in Global Relay Communications. So as I said, I'm going to talk about mindset. Well, the book Mindset. Let me share my screen. Can you all see this?
Yes.
All right. So it's not long ago that I got an opportunity to read this book. And while reading, I could relate many things from my own personal experience to what it is mentioned in the book. And also, I got a brand new perspective, which I think can help me in anything that I would ever like to achieve. Here are the two main things I would like to go over today. One, the view you adopt for yourself profoundly affect the way you live. Two, your true potential is never fixed. Let's establish the first one by going through a few different mindsets I have had in the past. So I'm a person who started really great and then went through a downward slope. So here is the 6-year-old me who made an appearance in the newspaper for winning a district level action song competition. This then continued for a while. Well, not just action song. I was good at various type of arts, sports, academics. That kind of student in class who is always class topper, teacher's pet, proud parents, and even jealous friends. So I was one of them. And all my childhood, I was living in the luxury of attention. And my environment was constantly telling me that I am a winner. I believed it from very young age. This then served me very well. I got better and better after the years go. And then in year 10, I was able to win state level competitions in arts. And also I scored amazing in public exams. I was not in movies though. Here comes the second mindset. I'm not good enough. So I was 16 and obviously my scores got me into an amazing higher secondary school. But the problem was there were so many toppers. It was even tougher competition, and I couldn't top there. And all of a sudden, I started to become so ordinary. I no longer see that admiring look from my teachers, or there were not so many extracurricular activities to prove. So my mind started to say that I am not good enough. And even worse, I blamed myself for everything that's happening. So, in reality, you and I know that it was just a change. I'm still the same person, I got capabilities, but failure hit me so hard that I, I had this talk in my mind. After all, I'm not that good. I was okay in the other gangs, but these are real people. So I decided to be a no talent girl. And what was the impact? I scored even lower and lower. On the exam nights, rather than studying or doing something productive, I found myself crying so helpless. So here comes the third mindset, determined to proceed. So because of all these things happening, I couldn't secure a place in merit in any of the colleges I wanted to go. But my father was ready to get a paid seat for me in one of the good colleges, so I was fine. But still, I was like really fed up with myself. So I gained back some level of determination. And even though I was really fearless, self critic, and having absolutely no focus, I tried really hard over those 3-4 years in college, and I got a job in campus placement finally. So let's take a pause there. And all these times, you are able to see I was having a direct impact in my life with what mindset I was carrying. And I was constantly trying to prove myself, prove to the world that I'm good. And in the book, there were a lot many experiences that the author talks about, which I could totally relate to all these. And I felt like reading bits and pieces of my own life. Let's move to the second part of the talk here today. So if you now are convinced that your mind has the power, what's the mindset you probably want to adopt? There are fixed and growth mindsets, right? In fixed mindset, your abilities are carved in stone. But whereas in growth mindset, your basic abilities are things that can be cultivated. So we all know some skills can be developed over practice and consistent effort. But the author emphasizes about even your intelligence and talent can be developed. They are not delivered by birth. So also, like if we are trying constantly, our resilience builds. So there is another perspective of the growth mindset as well. It really redefining the success, how you see the success. In the old definition of fixed mindset, success is only like winning or achieving or you being the best, right? But in growth mindset, it gives you some space. Like even if you didn't win, did you learn something new or did you push past a limit? And when it was really hard, did you try? Then it is success. Coming back to my story a bit, I was improving over time, definitely, but I was stuck in this constant loop that I have no focus, and in order to improve that focus, I need consistency in meditating or something, but consistency is not there for me by birth, and my discipline in my genes is absolutely zero. Hence, proved that I cannot go for greater things in life. I was feeling stuck in that thought. But reading this book really taught me that even my discipline or consistency can be developed. They are not delivered by birth. So if I'm blocked by that, that's probably the thing I want to work on first, and then I can go from there. And if we are looking to improve your talent or improve your intellect, what is the limit? Like how far we can improve? That's where beautifully the author says that one's true potential is unknown. There are examples in the like if you look at the Google, there are so many people who started really low and they didn't have any talent in the beginning, and their consistent effort made took them to great success. So one's potential is really unknown. So I want to reiterate these two things now. The view you adopt for yourself profoundly affect the way you live, and your potential is truly unknown. There are so many practical measures that book talks about. Like if you have a fixed mindset, how do you evolve to a growth mindset? The first step really is to notice yourself. What is the mindset you are carrying, and what are the things you have fixed mindset? Then slowly start to rewire that. There are really step-by-step guidance in the book, but one is the power of yet. Like rather than saying I'm not good at this, you can rephrase it like I'm not good at this yet. So it is about slowly rewiring your self-talks, and obviously it takes time, so you need to be really patient and kind to yourself. So the old message I would like to give you today is growth mindset is not only something that helps you achieve your goal, but also allows you to enjoy your life on the process. And yeah, for me, if I were the old me, I would be terrified today to do this talk because that's the first time I'm doing a public speaking. But not today. I am when I have already registered for the talk, that is success to me. So I am no longer nervous about this. And I want to conclude this talk by dedicating this to the person who referred this book to me. So he is my team lead and also my mentor. Thank you all. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take it.
Thank you, Swathi. That was an amazing talk. People are asking for a link to that book, so if you can send it in the comments. Does anybody have a question for Swathi?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the online link for the book, but I do have the hard copy. Let me try to find it, or if
Or
not,
send
I
it.
can
The
also send
title
it in
and
the
the
Slack
author
group.
should be enough.
Okay.
So if nobody has questions, I have one of my own because like I think that the dangerous thing, I have a similar pattern as you. I was sort of like didn't have to study and had like straight A's as a kid and had all of this pressure of like this is the gift kid, and I was really really lazy, and more than lazy, I was not like really, I didn't know what losing was and what struggling was, right? So what happened to me, which was kind of a miracle, is that I joined a really, really hard, difficult university, and my grades went like downhill on the first semester, and like I had to struggle and like get down off my horse and things like that. But it felt like so many gifted gifted kids that I know like just dropped out because they couldn't handle the pressure. They didn't know how to lose. So how do you get from the I'm losing mindset to that is growth, like that is what is actually going to like put me in the right path, right?
Yeah, so basically, it was not there. To be honest, I was really criticizing myself that I'm not trying hard enough, or yeah, I had a certain pattern of learning, right? Like until year 10, it's not huge things we have to learn. So previous night of exam was okay for me, but and in year 12 and so on, I'm not doing this consistent work because I'm not used to that, and I was blaming myself for that a lot, and it made me feel less confident. I fearfully appear in front of everyone. So I think when we come to that age, there was like deep sense of determination somewhere lying in me. So by the time I was comfortable with the friends group and have more chances, I tried to gain back the determination. I thought to myself, I want to succeed. I want to succeed. That's what I think carried me forward. And obviously, the success looked very different. Only like winning is success to me at that point, but still, I tried really hard for it. That was the one thing. And also there were some talks like one with Stephen Turner, that was a TED talk where he said, if you don't have focus, what you can do, like if your focus span is 5 minutes, do something for 5 minutes, go back to something and get back to the same thing again or something different, but you keep going somehow. I tried that a bit and that was very helpful. And as and when you do something a little extra, that gives you a little more confidence to do something more. Yeah, it was really hard, by the way.
Fair enough. Yeah, keep pushing. Don't try not to postergate and things like that. Yeah, I totally get it. Again, Swati, many, many, many thanks. It was an amazing talk. I hope that we'll see you again for many more in the future, right? So, without further ado, I would like to call Suzie, our second speaker of the day, and I think it's her second talk with us or third. I can't remember anymore. So,
Second.
off you go, Suzie.
Share my slides and see if you can see it. Mhm.
We can see it.
Yeah, we can see.
One sec, I'll try to redo it. Just give me a second, please. And yeah, this is my second talk. I was at a panel for DevOps Days last time.
We can see it.
So, hello everyone. My name is Suzie Rasnak, and today I'm doing a talk titled Things I Wish I Knew at 16. So, one sec. So, firstly, I want to introduce myself and why I chose this title. I'm a DevRel associate at Community Stack, which is a company supporting the third sector, which is charities, and I support the Northern Ecosystem, which is where I organise events for Yorkshire DevOps, which is an in-person tech community group based in Yorkshire. I'm also an organiser for DevOps Days London, which is a part of the DevOps Days ecosystem of events happening in every major city in most countries. And we also do have proposals open for talks if anyone would like to suggest a talk. And I'm also a T-level computing student at Barnsley College. And I used to be a junior automation engineer for an MSP based in Sheffield. So I first started my career doing work experience as a computer science teaching assistant when I was 16, and then I officially joined the workforce at 17 as a junior automation engineer. And since today is actually my 19th birthday, I wanted to share some advice and lessons learned from my near 3 years in the industry that will hopefully help someone starting out in a career, whether they're 16 or 60. So, the first tip I want to share is learning how to network. Because learning how to network professionally is one of the best things you can learn. It will help you gain confidence in speaking to people, and you will grow your network of people and mentors who want to see you succeed and grow in a career. And I know at first it may be scary when you're just starting out, but the one advice I got that changed my perspective is that people love to talk about themselves. If you feel like you may not be able to offer a lot to the conversation and contribute, you can just be honest and say you're new to the career or you're just a student, and you can ask people what steps they took to be in a position they're in today, and they'll be gladly to tell you. Now, my second tip is lean on your mentors. So sometimes the industry can be cutthroat and competitive, and if you have someone that is willing to offer advice, make sure you take them up on it. And don't be afraid to be bold and ask people directly if they have any advice or if they're hiring. Even if they reject you, they'll admire your courage and they'll be able to redirect you to someone who will be able to help you. Because rejection sometimes means redirection. Most of my first year of sixth form was spent having coffee chats and going to tech events to learn from people. And it's hard at first, but once you land your first role, it gets easier from there. So, my third tip is time management. Nowadays, in order to get a junior role, most companies expect you to have education, work experience, side projects, and you may also need a part-time job to support yourself financially. So, how do you manage all that and prevent yourself from burnout? For example, I use the 50-30-20 approach, which people normally associate with saving money. However, I found that it's also good for managing your time. So, 50% of your time should be spent on most urgent and important things like assignment deadlines or having a part time job. 30% of your time should be spent on building your skills for the future. This can be learning a new coding language, but also it doesn't have to be technical. You can spend it on learning skills for the future like cooking, baking, or learning how to drive. And then 20% of your time should be spent on your hobbies or going out with friends in order to prevent burnout. You don't even have to do something productive. You can just relax in bed watching your favorite show, or you can practice your hobbies, such as cooking, baking, or in my example, especially after a stressful exam, I like to go and play Pokemon. And the fourth tip is that it's okay to make mistakes. It's actually important that you make mistakes early on in your career so you can learn from them in the future, because no one can grow if you don't fail first. Making mistakes also teaches you the skills on how to own up to your mistakes and fix them in a timely manner, and how to communicate your mistakes. So, a fifth and final tip would be don't be afraid to speak up. It's important that you speak up and share ideas, especially in meetings, because it may feel like you have nothing to contribute when you're a junior, but you were hired in that position for a reason. Being a junior actually gives you the advantage of having a fresh perspective on situations, and speaking up will help you gain the confidence and speaking skills that are needed much later on in your career. And that's it. Thank you for listening, and are there any questions?
Thanks, Suzie. Any questions for Suzie? Please don't be shy. Open your mic, ask a question.
I have a question that's slightly 45-degree angle from the talk. It's just you're so young. I want to know what inspired you to actually put yourself into this so early. I think it's fantastic, by the way. But what drove you to being part of so many organisations and doing so much at a young age?
Could you hear the question, Suzie?
No, sorry, I couldn't hear anything.
Oh, sorry. Is it better now? Can you still not hear me? Let me.
Can you hear me, Suzie?
I could hear you, but I can't hear anyone else.
So the question was basically, you are so young, like it's amazing what you're doing. What has inspired you to get started with all of that?
Thank you so much. And it actually started with work experience. Well, it was called Industry Week at my college, where people from different industries came in and talked about their careers. And this one guy came in called Ethan Sumner, and I was so inspired by his journey into tech that I decided to have the courage to reach out to him on LinkedIn after. And because of that courage, he then invited me to so many different events where I was helping organize and learning leadership skills. And I got to travel like all around the country, all expenses paid, learning leadership skills. And that's what helped me grow my network of people and helped me get to where I am today.
Thank you, Suzie. It's an amazing, inspiring story of Suzie. Actually, her very first talk was like an auto-rotating slides where the slides advanced at 20 seconds. Carly and I were in the event, and I was so absolutely impressed. And I said, okay, we have to have her here. So her second talk was giving a panel about how to do those sort of events. So yeah, like Suzie is certainly sparring to all of us. All right, so we have, I think, a first-time speaker next, and I apologize in advance. Is it Rido? No, how do I pronounce her name?
It's a red one. Red one.
Red one. All right,
Yes.
so welcome to the aspiring
Thank
speakers.
you.
Feel free to share your screen, and if you need
Thank
anything,
you.
let us know.
I guess I cannot share my screen. I'm getting a
Uh,
host disabled attendee screen sharing.
give me 1 second.
Okay.
We're live, people. We're live.
Uh,
All right, try again.
all right. Okay, it's good. Go to share. Share. Do you see my screen? No?
Yes, we can see it.
Good. All right. So hello everyone. First of all, I wanna give a huge thanks to you for giving me the opportunity to give this talk. Actually, it's not my first time speaking or giving a talk somewhere, but it is actually my first time giving a talk in an international level. So it's my first time speaking, not just like here in Morocco. So thank you for that. And yeah,
Apology, you are on click to exit full screen. I think maybe share the wrong one.
okay. Is this good?
Mm.
Because the screen is not, the screen is visible, right?
The screen is visible. I'm seeing myself and my beautiful wife at the moment.
Okay, and now now it's good normal, right?
So now it's showing click to exit full screen to us.
Okay.
Now we can see the slides, but it's not full screen.
All right. Let me share the whole thing. Sorry, I'm new to Mac, so
That's why we're here for.
yeah. All right. And now
It's
it's
good.
okay. 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 Good. So I came here today to give a talk about developer experience. I gave another version of it in some other events, but today I like tweak it a bit to actually talk about it from the perspective of tooling and culture. Because we developers talk a lot about toolings, and in fact developer experience is not only about toolings, but it is a culture that we must have either with ourselves or within the company. So first, who am I? So I'm Karzaz Erdogan. I'm a software engineer here in Morocco. I volunteer also in an international robotics competition called FCC and FLL. And in the same context, I'm mentoring a robotics team called ND+T. ND+T in Arabic means I have my spot. And lately, it's been around 2 years now, I guess. I'm doing a lot of researches in the domain of developer experience, either by developing tools, reading books, talks, and like seeing everything that may help either me or everyone else either be it a person or a company or a team, etc. So feel free also to reach me out if you wanna talk about developer experience or anything else through my socials, either LinkedIn, Twitter, and you have here also my Medium for articles. All right, so developer experience, as the name suggests, it's the user experience of developers. So it's the journey we have, us as developers, during our either work or our coding journey. And there is actually another definition that was given by a person from GitHub in one of his articles. It's that developer experience, it's the sum of productivity, meaning how the person produces of value, its impact on the team or on the company, and finally the satisfaction of the developer, meaning how much he is satisfied during the journey of developing, testing, feedback, client loop feedback, and all of that to the power of collaboration. Because to be honest, either way, even if I'm a freelancer and I'm working solo, but in the end, I'm working for a client. So there is always this parameter of collaboration. There is always this parameter that I should communicate with someone else. So the parameter of collaboration should be included to the formula. And many developers, or whenever you talk to someone, all right, I want to increase or to improve my developer experience, what should I do? The simpler response to that, or the intuitive response that we all have, is you have many tools like Copilot, IntelliJ, debuggers, dev tools, GitLab, Sonar, etc., that are ready to use and you can use them. But the sad truth about that is, in the end, you find yourself that you are adapting to the tools, you are adapting your problems to be solved by those tools. And it's there from one day I was doing some tasks and I found myself that I'm repeating or I'm misusing a tool, and I thought, what if that tool was made for me? What if like I have a problem, it solves the exact problem that I have. I don't need to adapt my problem or to do extra effort to just like give the appropriate problem to the tool to be solved. So here where was my first encountering with custom tools, with plugins, extensions, etc. So here was my first encounter with developer experience, how to improve my own developer experience. So I started developing my own tools, and we the problem, as the meme states here, is that in general problems came up when in the middle of some task or some work. So we tell ourselves, all right, I can automate it, but I'm gonna spend 10 hours just automating it, or just spend 10 minutes to do the task manual. All right, that's true in a way, but in another way, if you are repeating the task, it's not draining only time, but it's draining energy, it's draining productivity and even passion to do that. Because we, as humans, we are we are always seeking to think. We do not like just repeating stuff over and over without giving it some time to think about how to solve it, etc. So one day you will find yourself repeating the same thing, doing errors because it's just repetitive, so it's like habit. You are not paying attention anymore, you are losing passion because again you are not thinking. So maybe you should give it some time, create your custom tool. And when I say custom tool, I mean everything from VS Code extensions, plugins, Chrome extensions, even just aliases. You have a long command, you can just create an alias to shorten it for you. So that's mainly it. And of course, you are working within a team. So the next step is moving up or scaling up, because mainly the problems that you have, your team also have them. And if you solved your problems by your tool, the problem is that your team are solving the problem not with the same way. So you may have some conflicts with that. So the next step is you wanna do is to scale this tool to your team. And to do that, it's not an easy way, an easy thing to do. So here I read a book called Developer Experience book. It's online, and he talks a lot about developer experience, how to scale up your product. And actually it has many points that I liked so much, and that are good to follow. So the first one is friction must be zero at T0. That means that you should deliver value as quickly as possible, minimize initial expenses, and smoothly spread costs over time. That means it means that the end client or the other teammate, he doesn't see value at first, he won't be using long your product. So you should deliver that value, he should see the value, and then if the costs come later, he is already familiar with the product. He now sees what the product has as a value, so he will continue using it. The simple example that I give every time is, let's say I want to convert a PDF or a word to a PDF. I visit a website that do that, and you need to sign up. First thing that will come to yourself is that you will search for another website that give you that first, and try it out. So the thing here is you should uh, give one-click installations, give defaults. I want to try something new. Give me already that is needed, and don't give me or don't bombard me with a lot of stuff that I need to search or I need to read to to understand. The second thing is should be intuitive. For example, if there is a video player, a press on space should pause it, etc. It should have incremental steps, docs, workshops, etc. Easily solve problems. You should provide a clear problem, what happened, why it happened, provide reassurance, give them a way out, and help them fix it. You should not block the process, minimize context switch, because in the end, context switch, it causes a lot of focus. You need to, if you switch the context when you are back, you need like 10 seconds to remember what we were doing. And finally, it should be customizable to personalize it as you like. So now we've seen two steps on a personal level, developer experience, and then we've moved to a team level. But then comes the bigger picture, which is as a company, at a company level. And at that stage, developer experience becomes a culture, because the company should like have standards on how to manage its developers. And there is a quote actually that I like to put here, that states that companies above 1,000 employees don't need clients at all. They will generate enough work on their own to keep themselves fully busy. And if we think enough about this quote, we'll see that companies actually have a lot of work besides uh, client work. They should have standards, they should provide streamlines, processes to actually make it easy for developers from their onboarding to their last day at the company to make the flow very smooth. For example, I'm a new developer on the onboarding. I should not wait for permissions. I should not wait for like to have my space where I will work, etc. If the team changed, the permissions will change. So here the company may like automate that process. One click on a platform, every permission is changed, etc., etc. And another quote that I like to mention, it is called Brooks Law. It states that adding manpower, meaning adding new developers to a late software projects, makes it later. That means that you should not, or adding new developers doesn't usually increase the speed or the productivity of a team. Why is that? Simply, there are 3 points. If it's a big project, so there is the cost of onboarding. The new developers doesn't know anything about the product, doesn't know the technologies used. There is communication overhead increases. Here, Brooks states that there is an exponential increase in the communication overhead. So if there is 3 developers, the communication is exponential 3. If we have like 6 developers, so the communication overhead moves to 15. The other point is that tasks aren't always easily divisible. So the new onboarded developer will have to work with others, so that will generate more cognitive load. So to resolve these problems, you can either way have clear isolated tasks, plan onboarding before scaling up, focus on processes and tools to streamline when a developer onboards. He has easy permissions, easy access, etc. And consider timing, whether it's a better option to actually onboard this developer right now or wait a bit or etc. And those are 3 books that I like to mention on this context that talk about mainly the how to manage teams, how to reteam, how to change uh, teams, and they are actually very inspiring and they give a lot of information about this domain and how to manage teams within a company. An extra point, it's an article that I wrote about JetBrains plugins as a way to increase or to optimize our developer experience. So I leave the link here if anyone want to read it. And thank you so much. Again, as I said on every presentation, give me feedbacks on this form. And again, positive feedbacks are appreciated, but what I want most is negative ones on what can I like improve for the future. So thank you everyone, and I hope you like the presentation. And if you have any questions, please, Tim.
Thank you very much. Carly and I will reach out to you with like feedback. I
All right.
I like say up front, loved your visuals and love that you remembered of putting the QR code so people can get in touch. That is a nice touch for sure. Any questions for our first time speaker here?
I've got a question.
Go, Lina.
Hi, Redwan. Great talk.
Thank you.
I also have a special interest in developer experience, so it was particularly interesting. I'm interested in when you're presented with a number of things that you can do to improve developer experience, how do you choose which one you would do first?
Can you like reformat the question?
Of course, yeah. How do you,
Yeah.
so if you have a number of things, a number of
All right.
ideas that you think you could do to improve the developer experience for your
Right.
engineers? How do
Right.
you prioritize them? What is the most important one that you would do first?
Okay, so first thing, do you talk like on a company level or on a developer level? Meaning, do you talk about developing something for myself or for the other people?
Um, I suppose I'm thinking about the other people, maybe on a
All
company
right,
level, on a
company.
team
All right.
level.
Right. So maybe I don't have quite a context here because I'm just a developer, but what I think is you should like include yourself or like have a monthly feedback from the teams on what's the things that drains the productivity. For example, for myself, I found myself one way. We were using Flyway if you happen to use it. So we were using Flyway, and there is a conflict that happens a lot between us, between the team. So I thought maybe I would make something for me that will make it easy to do. And when I make it, I talked to the other team and I told them that I make that and it will help us a lot. So they try it first and then we talked with like to scale it up to the company. So we talked with some other teams, etc., to like to first to introduce the idea. If they have the same problem, they may use it. But as a response to your question, I guess the first thing that you should like develop or make is uh, the one that will resolve the mostly common problem that you have. So initially, this idea of making a custom tool came to me when I had a problem. So if you have a problem, write it down. If you do have the same problem tomorrow, write it down. And when you find out that you wrote down the same problem like a lot of times, there is an issue. So you,
Yeah.
you should tackle that. So maybe that's the response. So you should tackle the problem that happens a lot. Also, you can tackle the problem that has the most effect on the productivity of the team. So that should do the affair also.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very
Thank you.
much. It's an amazing to have new speakers. I hope that you come back and give further talks with us for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
last but not least, the person that organized this event and set up like Luma event and did all of the background, like like finding speakers and etc. You're only like one like Carly Richmond here, like she said that she got this talk done like 2 days ago or something like that, right, Carly?
Yeah, I so if people want to ask you questions about that, you can at the end. The backstory to this talk is I had to sub in for a colleague last Wednesday at KubeCon and got less than 1 day's notice. So this is how weird my brain goes off on tangents when I have not a lot of time to prepare. So if people want to ask me how I did that and how I came up with this idea on short notice, I can chat about that at the end. But to dive into it, I want to talk about a random musing I had last week with very little notice, as I've said, about the fact that when we're talking about human in the loop, there's actually more humans and more loops than we really think about when it comes to building and using the agentic systems that we're using today. So specifically, I'm going to talk about what human in the loop actually is, just in case people don't know what it is as a construct. And then I'm going to talk about these three things where I think there's loops and there's humans, and we should think about those as well. So, specifically, we're going to talk about reinforcement learning with feedback, what that is, where it sits. I'm going to talk about context engineering and how we as developers are the main human validating at that point. And I'm also going to talk about alert fatigue management because one of the caveats giving this talk came from KubeCon is it's also got a bit of an AI ops theme within it. So that's why we talk about alert fatigue management and things like that. So I've already had a fab intro from Anthony, but if you haven't met me before, my name is Carly. I lead the developer advocate team in DevRel at Elastic. I have been speaking for far too long because I decided in 2020 that I was going to start speaking, and I love it and keep doing it. And by background, I'm also a front-end engineer. If you think of things afterwards about this, if you want to chat about this topic more after we've had questions and you think I need to chat to Carly, that QR code there is for my link tree, and you can find me in whichever social platforms. Because being a DevRel, I collect them like Pokemon, and I get that not everybody does. So feel free to connect if you're interested. So the first thing we need to explain is human in the loop. So I don't know who knows what this is and who doesn't know what this is, but the general idea is that we're using LLMs and models to generate output, make decisions, and kind of decide key factors within all sorts of different processes throughout our lives, not just simple chatbots that you're dealing with every day, but also automating key workflows within organizations. Quite often we want to have a human look and see if it's actually correct, if it makes sense, or if the LLM's generated something wacky. And to do that, we basically have a generated confidence interval. So this is like how confident we are that it's correct. And there's a few different ways that we can do that. And we basically either submit the ones that flag within low confidence, or we might introduce sampling where we look at certain ones and we send it to a lovely human who's going to actually look at things properly. They might tweak things, they might perform corrections, they might flat out reject something, they might flag it for a security or some other performance issue. But the general idea is that the human, it's not just about clicking a button and say, yeah, that's fine. They've got to also be able to potentially perform actions on it as well to make it a full loop. So let's take an example. Let's say I have made a change. I've deployed my apps using Kubernetes. I was at KubeCon last week. That's why it's a Kubernetes example. And we initially think everything works. Yeah, that's fine. If we think about how human in the loop would work in this would be off the back of an alert. We would be notified as a user saying, by the way, something has gone disastrously wrong. We need to look at this and see what's going on. So in this particular example, what you'll see is it's identified the root cause, it's submitted the case, and it's also created a PR. Now, I don't know how confident you guys are in auto-merging generated PRs to production. Maybe there's an interesting discussion we can have about config changes versus full code changes, etc. But the idea of this is that we would look at that PR, possibly pull it down, run it locally, test it, validate it, and then we would potentially either make changes on top of it, reject it if we think, no, that's absolute rubbish, or we would potentially go and say, yeah, this is fine, on you go, merge it, and hopefully fix everything. But as I said, the point I was trying to make is that's what we think of as human in the loop. But there's other humans and other loops and other points of validation that we need to think about in this particular scenario. And one of the first ones goes back to the model that we're using itself. So I don't know if anyone's heard of reinforcement learning with human feedback. Say that 3 times fast. But the general idea is that this is a common practice within the training of models that's happening all the time anyway. It's just that we don't realize it because we're not as close to that model generating point. So the idea of this is that the model is kind of having its particular prompt data put in, and we as human annotators have responses that are sampled. So again, it could be based on a confidence interval, but this is mainly based on a random sampling. And these human annotators will basically provide ranking data or judgments that then go back into the loop of learning. So this is how LLMs are learning. They're actually learning through reinforcement learning with human feedback, aka a human in the loop that's validating the model itself. And we need to bear this in mind because 2026, LLMs still make things up. If you've never had an LLM make things up, I want to know what you're doing, because I've had all sorts of wacky things appear with LLMs. And sometimes it's down to kind of understood things such as, I'm asking it questions about something it doesn't know based on its knowledge cutoff date. But sometimes if you're using maybe poor quality models or ones that people have put out in the open for experimentation that are not naturally good at the task you're doing, They might have parameters that are too tight within it, and that's what's called overfitting. So you're trying to use a model that just doesn't fit the task you're trying to do. But they still have biases in the data sets they're training in the first place that can present themselves in all sorts of wacky ways. We still have language ambiguity. And then don't get me started on catastrophic forgetting, where they just basically forget reams of training data by accident. So even with the notion of humans in the loop validating, they're still making things up and producing inaccurate results. And OpenAI last September actually surmised that this is because of the training and evaluation procedures. So I don't know, maybe there's an argument to be made about we need to consider how we're producing the judgment lists and aspects within that training cycle I talked about. But we are still finding that they're not acknowledging uncertainty correctly, and we need to try and figure out and validate how we're going to do that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is context engineering, because we have control here too in terms of validation. And this is particularly targeting the types of data that we're passing into models in order for them to perform a particular task. So whenever I mention context engineering, people are like, oh, Carla, you're just talking about RAG. No, I'm not just talking about RAG. RAG is part of it. So for those who are not familiar, this is basically where you have, as you can see here, a user passes in a particular question. We then utilize semantic search, utilize an embedding model. If you don't know what any of these things are, come ask me afterwards. And we find semantically similar pieces of documents and information that we put into the LLM as part of the prompt context and say, I want you to generate results based on this information, and then hopefully it should give you the right response. And it's known as a practice known as grounding. You're basically saying, don't use your reams of training data, use this information instead. But as we're building out different agents and we're using them not just in AI ops, but arguably all over the place, we need to validate and determine the correct tools. So there's a massive field of evaluation where we need to actually think about the types of tools that we're passing into the agents in the first place and what they do. So this is an example here of an agent that has 32 active tools. That could be too much, right? It could be that it's given access to so many different things that one, it shouldn't be able to perform particular actions. It could be that it gets bamboozled by the number of tools and therefore it doesn't manage to actually solve the problems in the first place. And as engineers, I see our role moving a bit to validating these agents and making sure they have the right tools and information. Now, we provide tools in all sorts of different ways. So it could be doing something as simple as this, where it's running a very locked down ESQL query. It can pass in some parameters, but the LLM doesn't have a lot of, give. It could be running something more complex, like a multi-stage workflow, similar to a GitHub action. But when we, as humans in this loop of validating these agents, are thinking about tools, we need to think about how specific or general they should be to accomplish the type of tasks that we want them to do. And this is where my colleague Leonie talks about the notion of the ceiling and the floor. So depending on the type of problem that you have, you might want to start with really specific tools that pull out, information based on very precise queries, but leveraging parameters. But then as you start to do, more flexible, different types of queries, having to pull in from different sources, maybe you end up with, something that's a bit more ambiguous that can generate the code for you instead. So we need to think about that when we're designing and validating what our agents are doing. And the last thing we need to think about for anyone who's had to do any on-call stuff, getting an alert, particularly if you get woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning, is not pleasant. And we need to think about this notion of false positives and false negatives, because they really are frustrating. And I've been the person that's woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning before, and by the time I've logged in, they've went, oh, we fixed the issue because we just restarted the service. That's so frustrating and annoying. So if we're generating alerts and auto-remediating cases like I've got in this example, we need to make sure that we're mindful of the, alert fatigue practices that we've had for a long time. So the things that we're validating with regards to looking at the volumes of our alerts, looking at these false positives and negatives, looking to see if it's the same person that's regularly getting pinged on call, all these things don't go away. And it's another validation loop if we think about it to see that the LLMs are actually generating legitimate cases of interest. So we need to think about all of these things and probably a few more if I'd had more time last week. So I've covered human in the loop. But I've also tried to make the argument that there's other loops that we don't necessarily always have control over that are factored into our agentic systems, from reinforcement learning that's mainly in the kind of realm of, model builders, the context engineering where we can validate that it's getting the right information, and then of course alert fatigue management as well when we're triggering alerts with them. So it has been a pleasure. If you have any questions on why I threw a talk together in such a short period of time, what I did, or even the topic, we've got some time. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Carly. That was amazing as usual.
Thank
Any
you.
questions for Carly? So, well, in that case, I have one, but we're just on time. If you
Yep.
folks want to leave, go. But
Mm,
Carly, I know that like we have alerts, we have run books and automation and
yep.
everything. But as the guy that is spitting the horrible code, like that will like have to be taken care of by ops and myself, knowing each time less about the code base, because every time that you use AI to generate something, even if you have unit tests, you're basically skipping some of the context. The
Yep.
main problem that I can see is we don't know what we don't know when we hit prod,
Yeah.
right? So in your view, as the human in the loop,
Mm.
how do you compensate for the you don't know what you don't know, like increasing?
So for me, that's where monitoring comes in. And I think that's another argument that we could also have as well, because I think I'm seeing a lot of people deploying agents and doing some really funky stuff, and it's fantastic to see that level of creativity. But then I start asking the questions of, so what are you using to monitor this thing? Like, how are you tracking token usage? How are you, validating the outputs and the system prompt and all these other things? Like, what's your regular evaluation process? Are you applying that in production? And then they end up looking at me terrified and going, oh, we're not monitoring anything. Um, Observability is something that I don't think is going away, and if anything, is becoming increasingly more important with the agentic systems that we're building. Um, so for me, the main thing is, are you actually monitoring and observing? So even if you're throwing like open telemetry actually has their own defined semantic conventions that they're working on for AI tools specifically. And there's also various different tools such as OpenLLimetry, there's OpenLit, there's Langtrace, there's several that can give you information on what not just the whole system does, like traditional OpenTelemetry does, but also what the agents are doing in terms of what tools are they calling, what parameters are they calling it with, are they calling them multiple times, which is something I've had happen with my toy examples. So I think if we're going to do all of these things, that's fine, but we still need to have observability and monitoring over the top. We still need tests, we need CI suites, we probably still need some form of synthetic tests as well, like you think about the end-to-end flows and stuff, so that we can try and basically bash out the bugs, especially if we're resorting to vibe coding, which is great, but we still need to make sure we're testing things properly. So observability and testing are how you're going to catch the weird things.
Right. Yeah, there is no easy way. You have to put the effort to make it observable, right?
Yeah.
I would like to thank Carly and all of our other amazing speakers, and for everyone that is here, or regulars, or like new folks that are joining the first time. This talk will be on YouTube. I've pinged the channel. And I hope to see you on our next event, 14th of April. We're going to have the DevOps rehearsal with 5 of our amazing community members. Thanks, everyone.